Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ASACW podcast, episode 4, with special guests here, Vance.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about the new update. We are going to talk about the monsters that showed up in this new update and our thoughts about them after we fought them. So I'll begin with Camellios. Since it is high rank, I don't think it is fair to compare Camellios to G rank Camellios from GU because, I actually went back to GU and fought Camellios and it almost one shot me in G rank. And in this game, it didn't do much. I don't know about you.
I mean, there's definitely a difference between G rank and high rank.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely haven't spent as much time in high rank as I have when I played, because I played the original generations and I played World, and those were in high rank for a long. Well, I mean, Generation stayed in high rank, and then World was in high rank for a while. So I have a lot of experience with high rank, and I'd say that this is pretty average high rank. It's
Yeah.
definitely not G rank because the whole point is harder.
Yes.
And I think that the difficulty, it's all right. It's not. It usually just depends on the people that you're with.
Right.
And I feel like the Elder Dragons, the way that they're doing it, it definitely scales well with the difficulty. On Camillus being the easiest, and Kushala being the next, and then Teostra definitely being the hardest.
Yeah. So last night I fucked Shaw again because I had to record a fight. And man, I don't know what it was, but it was just a lot more difficult than the first time I fought it. Pretty much it killed me pretty quickly. And I don't know if it is because its attacks are like ice based attacks. I'm not sure. My armor cannot resist ice attacks as much. It has like negative 22. Because the first time I fought it, it was pretty easy. And then the second time around, it was definitely more challenging. I also think that the two randoms that joined us, they were not doing much. So pretty much it was just me and my friend doing the job, and the other two were not doing much. And so I think that's what happened.
Yeah, randoms could really depend on how easy or hard the quest is going to be. For me, I feel like the first time I fought him was harder just because learning, and then the second time was easier because I kind of just I beat him up.
Yeah.
Kushala, like he feels easier now because I'm really not feeling wind pressure. I think I felt wind pressure like once, but other than that, I've just been hitting on him. But it feels like that he has more health now, and he's a
Yeah.
bit tankier.
Yes.
And overall, I think that he's he's more interesting. I like the new tornado attacks. They're not as annoying as World because they used to be tornadoes that just stayed there in blocked off areas. Now they move around a lot more and they're not in the way as much, and they're just more sort of obstacles to dodge instead of just being areas or denial areas. And the dragon element is something that really surprised me because I've never seen that before with them. And I think it's pretty cool and a little bit of a nice twist that adds something to him.
Yeah. And now Telstra. Actually, for me, Telstra was not too difficult. In the first attempt, it wasn't, and neither in the second attempt. I don't know if it is because it is like a bit slower in comparison to GU. In GU, it like even in the village quest, I still remember. It was quite annoying. Telstra in the advanced quest of the village, but in this game, he wasn't too challenging. Uh, he was, but to an extent, not to the level of Apex Mitsu.
To me, he felt more or less the same. I mean, in a lot of the games I've played, he's just felt more or less the same across the board. He's, for me, he hasn't really changed much. In this one, though, he did get some new attacks, but they don't really change. They're pretty dodgeable ones, like the ground charging up flamethrower, where he just does a giant fiery area, and the one where he does just. I think he had the one where he does an explosion in front of him, but Whatever. Visually, I think he looks very nice. I prefer this visual style to World because he's got a lot of cool fire effects going on. And I think that he has a bunch of different modes that I don't even know what do, but they're pretty neat. And as for difficulty, when I fought him in GU, it felt fairly similar. The health isn't that different. It it felt pretty. It felt fine. It
Yeah.
felt pretty normal.
Yeah, for me, Telstra has always been the hardest of the three because of what it does. Even though it didn't cost me a lot of trouble in this game, it is still a lot more challenging than the other two.
Yeah, he's always pretty much been the hardest of the three, just because of how damaging the explosions are and like their ability to actually kill you if you're not careful.
Yes. And now we're going to talk about the Apex quests. So first, the Apex Arsuros. So pretty much these Apex monsters are just like rip-offs of the Deviants in Jew. I don't know.
Yeah, I, it does feel that way, but I mean, I think it's cool, and people, it gives people who didn't play GU a chance to experience something like that. And I don't know. I mean, on one hand, it's kind of cheap, but on the other hand, it's cool because I mean, it makes sense because they're advanced type attacks for the kinds of monsters that they are. Like they got like the deviants got those adaptations because they ascended to a greater mastery in their species than the standard form, and these apexes are just like that, but I don't know, they have something more in common with each other.
Yeah.
But it makes kind of sense to me.
Yeah, the one thing that I don't like about the Apex Arsuros is that when it like slaps you, it leaves you like stunned and then it can kill you if it wants to hit you again.
I mean, I think it's just interesting. It just adds to the difficulty, which you've been saying that it's too easy, but whatever. I guess you're just not the same person who fought EX Diablos or Bloodbath with me.
Now, I think the hardest monster so far in the game is probably Apex Mitsu, in my opinion, because of what it does. And I almost caught it like twice in that fight. I actually caught it once in that fight, remember?
Yeah, I'd definitely say that it's the hardest monster in the game right now, and it deserves it since these are now taking the place of the deviants, and it definitely has cemented itself in the community as the most challenging so far, and it's definitely earned it because I did several attempts of its quest on my own with randos and failed, me including fainting sometimes.
Yeah. And now let's talk about your favorite monster, Basil Keys, right?
Yeah, they did him pretty dang good. They did him pretty dang good. Visually, awesome. I prefer his enraged look in this one because of just how the red and glowy bits stand out, and it just looks really good. And the music. It, Before I thought his theme, everyone likes the beginning of the song, but then it kind of dials off into something else. I feel like they improved it in this one and made the whole song overall interesting and good to listen to. And it definitely makes for a more intense fight now. And
Yeah.
it just, on the sanding plains especially, it just feels really cool.
Yeah. I think its theme is perhaps the best of the game so far.
That's a bold claim. That is a bold claim.
I mean, I don't know what other theme is just as quote unquote good
Have you been
as
listening to the BGMs?
yes, and I mean, I am not into the whole like this new take of them.
Asian.
No, they are more like orchestra.
I don't know. It's always kind of been. I guess it's become more orchestra. It was a thing in World. They started doing because they went from the sort of video game-ish in the previous games, and then in World they started doing more realistic types of instrumental. It's kind of been a thing for a while.
I prefer the old themes than the ones that are in Rise. That fight with Basil Geese, it was crazy. Especially when like it dropped like those things on the ground, and then they explode.
Yep,
Uh,
that's kind of the whole fight. I mean, that's the main reason you cart to him is just that you you're fighting him and it's like, oh, he's pretty slow. He's not that hard to hit, except for when there's bombs underneath your feet, and whenever you dodge right into one, which got me several times.
yeah, but it's still so far the hardest fight has been against Apex Me Too, and now the two Rampage quests against the Apex Rathalos and the Apex Diablos. They were also not too challenging, to be honest. Yeah, the first time I played the Apex Rathalos Rampage quest, it was kind of difficult, but then it got easier. And then the second time around, it was definitely a lot less challenging.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd say out of the two, that Apex Rathlos was the hardest because he generally does more preventive stuff to you. Like it's just overall, I'd say harder. You get more chances of Diablos and that. And it's just, I don't know. It's just he's harder from what I remember. And I thought they were pretty cool. Pretty as a Bloodbath fan, I thought that did pretty well. It wasn't too much of a direct copy paste. It did some of its own stuff.
This Apex Diablos seems like a nerf version of Bloodbath. It does less things than Bloodbath, and of course, it doesn't do the scream.
I mean, the difference being we don't have hunter arts this time, so I think it's kind of more fair that it doesn't have that. I mean, we're really just gonna have to say wait and see what it could really do once we get the hunt quest. I feel like that's gonna be when. I mean, that's when we've been really learning about the monsters at this point, because Mitsu really wasn't that hard in the rampage, but then when we actually fight it, ugh, it was a lot harder.
Yeah, I think that perhaps Apex Rathalos is going to be pretty hard.
Yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, with the holds going into the sky and shooting down those giant fireballs, it's gonna be pretty hard to dodge.
Yes. Now, let's talk about the new things that came with the update. So, I fully upgraded my armor and I got poor
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
everyone's poor now. It's the Great Depression.
Yeah, but then I got rich again after
Yep,
doing.
because of the 2.0 money exploit.
Yes. But, I have not found any other light bow gun that is just as good as the one that I have right now, as well as different armor. I'm so good with what I have. And how about you?
Um, I mean, with the new Teostra armor, who man, I've got some farming to do that I have not even started yet. I have I even gotten a single horn? Probably not. I haven't gotten one horn yet, and I've always needed Teostra horns in every game, and I just never get them. And I already know all the grinding I'm gonna have to do because of how good all of his stuff is. And I mean, before Elder Dragon armor was never really that good, but with this game, it's actually crazy good. Teostra armor is some of the best now. Kushala is some of the best for bowgun, and the Basil Goose armor really gives some good gun lance options because I tried to make a gun lance set before, and all you really had was Basarios and kind of uh why am I why am I forgetting the name right now? I don't know, the mudfish. And there wasn't really a whole lot to work with, but with Basil armor in the game now, it's definitely a lot better, and I might have to make an entire set out of that now. I mean, I'm already using his layered armor, so
Yeah. And also that, I'm glad that they finally included the option to forge layer armor because I honestly didn't like the design of my dog with the Narwa armor.
I see everybody wearing that great Ragi armor just because you look like a cowboy, bro. I feel like I'm the only person wearing even remotely Basil Goose armor, just because barely any Gunlance players. I mean, there's more now because the whole all the stuff you could do with the wire bugs, which is I played Gunlands and I never even tried it, which I completely regret because it looks so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the layered armor's good. I haven't really put it on any of my support guys because there's this great Chameleos armor that turns your Palico into a genie, and it's great. And but
Yeah.
I definitely the Basil Goose armor just looks so cool, and I just had to have it as layered.
Have you done any of the Master Utsushi's quests? We did one, right?
Uh, yeah, we did that one where the Magnamalo absolutely destroyed us for some reason. I don't. Well, I mean, I
Yes.
didn't upgrade that armor set yet, so that's a main problem. But yeah, that it was hard. It was definitely a harder quest, and I'm definitely impressed with the difficulty on that. I mean, I don't know if it was just us or they upscaled the difficulty on that Magnamalo, but definitely better. And the Nargacuga is pretty standard, but hey, it was a neat little quest. And as for the event quests, uh, not a whole lot yet, but the Titranodon was cool, I guess. And I hear about that Nargacuga one coming out that I have yet to play.
I
But
actually have not
hey,
done
future
that
plans,
quest.
future plans.
I haven't done that quest, the event quest. But the thing is, there isn't much to do still in Rise. I mean, you have the trio of Elder Dragons and the three Apex monsters. Other than that, I mean, I don't see what else is there to do.
Uh, you haven't tried Arena Quest, have you?
I have actually. I did the one with Narga, Tigrex, and the Lightning Monster, Toby something. I don't remember.
Toby Kadachi. Damn,
Yeah.
nobody ever likes him. I mean, I know there's people that like him, but in all the tier lists, he always just gets wrecked because the fight could be a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, I'd say a pretty good first month update. One thing I would say is that with the addition of Apex Rathalos and Diablos, they could have done hunts for them, but I can see why they might not have done that since they just added them in. They probably still have to add all the hunt specific stuff like they did for the other ones. So kind of makes sense in that way. So I won't really go blame it on them for that.
So, what do you expect from the next update?
Well, all they revealed so far is that they're going to be adding several new monsters, and which it is a good question if the end game is going to come in the next one. What I expect to see is more Rampage, Apex monsters, and some and a hunt quest for Diablos and Rathalos. But they one thing I would like to see is the addition of more original monsters, like new ones. And it's not necessary; they don't have to do it. They could just keep adding more old ones. But hey, it's something new and cool that could be done. It's not really something that they did in World because in World they always just added more old monsters. But hey, just a little bit of an idea out there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I hope that they add an Apex Narakuga because I think it's going to be just a ripoff of Silverwind.
Yeah, they're probably just going to keep doing deviants, which I mean, I don't really have a problem with because I mean that just means it's going to be all the cool monsters. But hey, it's something.
I do hope that they don't bring back Malfisto. Is that a name?
Yeah, Malfestio, the owl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool and all, and the fight could be annoying at times, but I mean, originally I used to hate the fight. I used to hate it. I just thought it was terrible, but over time I've set back and I've become to appreciate it more just for the uniqueness of the monster and the fight isn't that bad once you learn the mechanics and know how to fight it and it's cool, but I could definitely understand why you and some other people really don't like it. And they're probably not going to add him to Rise, but I mean, I could definitely see it being a cooler in this game, but they probably won't.
Yeah, because at first, as a blade master, they would always hit me and my buttons would get reversed. But as a gunner, it became a lot easier to fight it. So that's why I have preferred to use a light bow gun instead of a close range weapon.
Is Malfestio the entire reason you're using a ranged weapon?
No,
Really? Oh,
no. It is because pretty much every EX quest in GU went better as a gunner than as a blade master, with me at least. Like for example, against Bloodbath, man, I couldn't fight it as a blade master, so I forged the light bow gun of Narga, and eventually I became good at using it, and then I was able to pretty much beat Bloodbath.
bro, when we were in there fighting EX Bloodbath, I was in there with a sword and shield on the front lines, man. I I was in there on the front line. You didn't see the things I saw. I was in there with the sword and shield that barely had any base attack and just had paralysis. Front lines, my comrades.
The only thing that it's annoying is the scream, because that pretty much, if you don't dodge it, I mean, you're dead. I actually beat Bloodbath with a rando once. Man, it took us like probably 20 minutes, but it wasn't too difficult. I think it's because of the experience that I had. I think it helped.
I mean, randos could be good. You never know the type of rando you're going to get.
And also, another thing is that this is my opinion. I believe that the hunter rank at times it is meaningless because like I have encountered people in GU who had a higher HR than me, and they play like noobs. Like
It's because they get carried.
yeah,
It's just all the carrying.
yeah.
Uh,
So I will say that don't underestimate somebody who has a lower HR than you.
I'm trying to come up with a response to that, but basically, yes.
I mean, because at the end, it is about the experience that one has. I didn't play World. I didn't play the previous games. GU was my first Monster Hunter game, and perhaps I think I prefer it more than Rise. Still,
It's fair. I mean, I grew up with Generations was my first game, and then I went to World, then I went to GU, and it, for me, it's so hard to pick favorites. And I guess I wouldn't say Rise is my favorite. World was pretty dang good, and then Generations, I mean, it made me fall in love with the game. GU, uh, I mean, it really just felt like Generations again, so it's kind of hard to pick that one as the favorite, but still really good. Cannot complain.
yeah. I mean, there's just so much to do in GU, and currently in Rise there isn't. But I mean, hopefully in the future they will add more stuff and more quests, and also more monsters.
Yeah, I mean, it's just starting out. I mean, it almost feels. I don't want to call you out on this, but it almost feels kind of unfair to judge the game at this point because of just how new it is, how
Yeah,
out of the box. Like it's just getting started. It's still getting updates. It's brand new. I mean, I would almost not call it completed on its initial release just because of probably how much plans they have for it.
yeah. I mean, it is just that I think the money that I spent in this game, uh, I mean, so far they have not given me. I mean, I feel like they have not given me the full package. Like, there's still more that the game probably still needs.
Would you have paid $60 for Monster Hunter GU?
Probably not. I actually bought it when it wasn't on sale, so I only spent $20 on it.
Yeah, same.
But I mean, I think Rise should have been worth less than 60
I
because
mean,
of what it is offering currently.
it's certainly a bigger game. It's a whole new engine from what they've done so far. And they've added a bunch of new content, and it's still pending. And I feel like it's really going to depend on how much they add to it after in the coming times. It's going to
Yeah,
make it really worth it or not. And it's going to be an interesting point on how much the DLC, if comes out, will cost.
How much did Iceborne cost?
I think it might have been another 60, maybe. Was it? I don't know. It might have been anywhere from 40 to 60, but I'm going to lean over to more on the lower side of it.
Wow. So somebody who spent $60 on World went on to spend an extra 40 for Iceborne.
Yes. I mean, it was a very long period of time in between those two, so it really wasn't that bad. It wasn't like, and I mean, I'd say World was a full game, and Iceborne definitely delivered a lot more content after that, especially with the updates. That it added a lot. I mean, it added a whole new big map, a bunch of new monsters, a bunch of sieges,
Yeah,
and I feel like it was worth it, especially with how big the graphics and engine on the game were big.
I do hope that they add the G rank in Rise, but most importantly, I do hope to see Devil Joe back.
I could let that go, huh?
No, I need him back.
I mean, with the return of Basil Goose, I feel like they'd add him back just because they have a turf war and it makes sense. But I still don't feel like he's completely necessary. He just doesn't fit the demographic as well, but it would be still cool to see him. I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Is it true? I mean, I'm not sure if these are just rumors, but I heard that perhaps they're planning on adding Valstrax.
I mean, I've heard stuff. It's just a lot of theories. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I'm okay if he doesn't get in, but I would really like to see him back, and I would absolutely make his armor. But I haven't really heard anything official, but I've seen a lot of people that want him back, which definitely, gives me some hope.
Yeah. So any other comments?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
Basil good.
Well, so I guess we will end it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for being here, and until next time.
Yes, sir. Later.